Thank you. You deserve an award for still sitting in your seats. It's been a long day, but I have to say that Tracy Bain, the linchpin behind this, and myself, we're not too far removed from journalism. We both come to this, to philanthropy 2 and 3 years out. So we have a real love for this industry. And I am just so glad that I'm imbibing all of the knowledge and the learning that is taking place here, and I hope you are too. So this panel is about the impact of local news on communities, and it's aptly titled All News is Local. And it certainly is, especially here in Chicago, where we have outlets like Block Club Chicago, and Borderless Magazine, that are truly national stars on how they cover community. Borderless with immigration, and Block Club, block by block. And then we have outlets like Investigative Project on Race and Equity, and Tribe, that are noted and lauded for calling out injustice. And then we have outlets like La Raza and Cicero Independiente that have really started to cover and provide access to the burgeoning Latino populations in Chicago and the region. So all news is local. All news is local, and we have to remember that it's all about community. So to that end, we're going to bring up several of our speakers. They're just going to answer one question, and we're going to keep it moving to get you all out of here on time. I'm going to start by bringing you up Mayor Ihman. As the mayor of a small Illinois city, would you please share with our audience how you would describe your local media landscape, what role it plays, and as a mayor, provide examples of how your work would be harder without local news.
First of all, a little bit of a nerdy comment. Thank you for allowing me to be here and provide perspective from our point of view in Central Illinois. But being a lifelong listener to public radio and being in the opportunity to hear this program was brought to you by the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation. And to be in the company of people to put a face with that's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. So, in many respects, my community represents the poster child for what we're discussing today. I live in and represent a community in what's been known since the early 1970s as Forgottonia. Look that up when you get a chance. Google that. And so we've been a bit of an anomaly in our part of the state. Overlooked, underreported, undercared for. That's changed. It's changing. And so when you look up Forgottonia, look up unforgettable Forgottonia. So we've turned it on its head a bit. But I can surely relate to everything that you've discussed here. I've been part of that. My political career stems back to the early 90s when we were covered by a 100-year-old plus local independent newspaper. We've been a Gannett. We've been a Gatehouse. And then we were nothing. I take that back. Gannett is still there. Sorry, was that obvious? But we have no relationship with them. When I say we, I mean across the community leader spectrum, there is no connection with them. We do have a profound influence in our community, and you heard from her just a moment ago as the director of Tri-States Public Radio. She only has 2 staffers. One of them has my phone number and calls me with some degree of frequency. We have a great, respectful relationship, and in spite of the funding cuts, and I'm here to say, Senator, she needs more money. In spite of the funding cuts, they're doing a great job of covering my activity. So I'd like to spread that scrutiny around just a little bit and give them some more opportunity to use those talents and hold other governmental units. And I say that not jokingly entirely, but hold other governmental units to task. I know from my career in the Illinois State Police, as a public information officer, what it takes to have a profoundly genuine relationship with the news media in a critical situation. And I know that we have that, barely have that, but we have it with Tri-States Public Radio. We also have, as an outgrowth of our dealings over several decades with print media, we have, as an outgrowth of that, a former director, a manager in the print media business, is a startup in our community. Started out as a every other day publication. It is now a multiple times a week publication, the Community News Brief, that is covering us in a great way. So a little bit of past and a little bit what's looking forward for us in a community that, again, I feel is a poster child for what we've discussed here all day today. It's been my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
On time. Thank you, Mayor. Next, I'll bring up Jeff Rogers. Jeff, can you please share with our audience what the role of the Illinois Press Association and its foundation is for Illinois local media? And also tell us your perspective on what needs to happen to support local media for policy, business, and audiences.
I have 15 minutes to answer this question, correct? No? Darn it. Well, there goes my speech. So the Illinois Press Association is an organization that represents all of the state's newspapers. It's about 360 newspapers now, thereabouts, and it advocates for legislation that is favorable for the media. It fights to preserve public notices in newspapers and on newspaper websites, and it helps with training for professional journalists out there. I'm the executive director of the Illinois Press Foundation, which for quite a bit of time was the educational arm of the association. But in the past 5 years, the two organizations have split a little bit, mostly because of what we do at the foundation with Capital News Illinois. So at the foundation, we really have focused on supporting student journalists and supporting training for professional journalists. But my board, back in about 2017, 2018, recognized a news desert or news gap that I'm not sure has been brought up today, but it was in the state capitol. The state capitol used to have about 30 bureaus, used to have about 50 reporters full-time. By the late 2010s, there were 4 full-time print bureaus left at the Capitol, 5 reporters for the entire state. And what that meant for local newspapers was that they did not have any state coverage or access to state coverage, particularly the smaller non-daily newspapers, which are all over the state. So the board and the foundation decided to start Capital News Illinois. That went really well. We've gone from 3 employees to now 13. We're going to be adding 2 more this year. So it's filled a gap out there. So that's important. And I think that's something that the foundation and the association working together are really trying to do, is fill gaps. The next one out there, you've heard all about it, is in the local communities. There aren't people covering city councils and school board meetings and all of that before, and where I see the foundation and particularly Capital News Illinois being able to help with that next is taking advantage of the partnerships that we have with funders, with the local news organizations. We have partnerships with all of the state's newspapers, now all of the state's broadcast outlets. That's going to be important. But probably the most important partnership that we have in all of this is with universities. We've got students at Medill that are working for CNI. We've got students at the University of Illinois Springfield. We have students at Southern Illinois University who work for CNI. And what I want to see and what CNI and our board wants to see is to start building on that, bringing in more students, putting them in local communities, working with local news outlets, and really starting to cover those things that just used to be normal, used to be routine, that aren't getting covered anymore. So that's really what I see as the next partnership that we can work on.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
Thank you, Jeff. Next, I'm going to bring up Melody Spann Cooper. Melody, your stations include WVON for the African American community and WRLL for the Latino community. How impacted have these communities been with changes in corporate America and advertising? And what changes would you like to see to help local media?
Well, thank you, Maudlyne, and thank everybody in this room. Tracy, thank you so much. Thank you for that wonderful question. A lot of our corporate opportunities, of course, just in the last year, I got to be honest with you guys, we are down financially. Last year, 2025? 22 to 30%. Imagine that. My small independent company in the third largest market. And so I've had to lay off about 6 folks. And so it's been tough. But beside me being in media, I'm an owner. I'm one of the few owners who've been up here today, and a storyteller. And so what I've learned from being an owner is that disruption is good. It's good. What it does is it allows you out of your comfort zone to reimagine, recreate your business. And so you look at a station like our flagship station, which is WVON, went on the air before I was born, and many of you in this room, 1963. It celebrated its 63rd birthday, April 1st, as the voice of the Negro, right? Yes. As a station here in Chicago. But guess what? It's not just radio anymore. It's streaming. It's podcast. It's video. It's got a streaming video platform, VONtv. And so you have to change with the times to remain relevant, and that's what we've done. Another thing that I think is important, Ms. Wadsworth, I think that was her name, from the Knight Foundation. She nailed it today. She talked about us looking outside of traditional means for funding. And so this nonprofit and this for-profit has got to go away. One of the great things that have happened to us this year is a partnership we've done with the Chicago Community Trust. It was an interesting partnership because we had been applying for a lot of the small grants that they give, and they continued to kick us out because I'm in the middle. I'm in this third largest market, so I'm not a small company, but I'm not Hulu. I'm not Disney. I'm not these companies I'm competing with. And so we wouldn't get this funding, and so they came up with an interesting way for us to start tapping nonprofit funds by signing up with a fiscal partner, and I hope this is helping some of you in this room. We signed up with a fiscal partner called Forefront, and so we're able to go after some nonprofit funds. What I've learned from being in this room is that I have not done a good job of connecting with some of these organizations, the Joyce Foundations of I know you're there. And I know that if you know me, you will invest with me because I am doing tremendous work. And when I talk about us being storytelling, let me tell you why we're important. We are important because right now we're working on a story about Black Catholics. Did you know that Chicago had more Black Catholics than any city? Pope Leo came from here. Y'all know that, right? And so that's not here anymore. What happened to that? That's a VON story. We should be allowed to tell that story. And the reason that the Chicago Sun-Times and BEZ merged and you invested in them, because you knew the Sun-Times was too big and too important to this city to fail. You should feel the same way about my company and other companies like mine. We deserve to tell our stories. So thank you.
Thank you, Melody. Thank you. Okay, next we're going to bring up Judi Terzotis. Welcome, Judi. So let's hear more about your work with the local media association. Tell us what efforts that you have taken to help Illinois media and other media across the U.S.
Thank you. First of all, what an inspiring day. Thank you all for being here. I was part of the Michigan Summit that was mentioned earlier. You guys, this is tenfold. I mean, it is. Kudos to all of you. So first, let me put my board hat on for the Local Media Association. The Local Media Association, how many in the room have heard of this organization? Yay, a little bit. Okay, I hope everyone now is going to be an advocate. We're a journalism support organization, and we have 3,000 members across the U.S. and Canada. So it's our mission to help media companies create sustainable business models. It's really important to us. So think back in 2020, we launched the first Lab for Journalism funding. And what that is, it's a 6-month intensive, hands-on for both for-profit and nonprofit newsrooms to learn how to fundraise to grow their newsrooms. Okay? Spin forward to 2026. We have trained over 250 newsrooms, and we have raised $38 million across the U.S. So we really feel like, philanthropy is one piece of that puzzle to help newsrooms expand. Here in Illinois, to your question, there's several of our alums in the room. Jeff is one of the alums right here, and they're currently out there using our techniques to help grow their newsrooms. Now let me put my hat on. I'm CEO of Georgia's Media in Louisiana. We own the Times-Picayune, The Advocate. You may know of some of our brands. We were part of that first class in 2020. Did not know what we were doing to fundraise. But today, we have 220 journalists across the state of Louisiana, and 24 of them are grant funded. So it gives us the ability to tell those stories in rural areas and to really inform a population that really needs to be informed, right? Louisiana is not known for its not being corrupt. So, it's an important technique. So LMA is really supportive of this initiative, and Tracy and everything you've done. And so thank all of you for being here.
Thank you, Judi. I think Chicago is just like Louisiana and its corruption. Alee, come on up. And for you, can you tell our audience what the media landscape is like in downstate Carbondale? Does your work and the students' work intersect with the community?
Thank you. So yeah, I'm from deep southern Illinois, Jackson County, Carbondale. And there it's the part of the map we looked at earlier where there's a lot of light purple and yellow counties. So there are many counties, in deep southern Illinois where there's either one outlet or none. So the way that the students intersect with the community is that they're really filling that void. Our students at Southern Illinois University, at the Daily Egyptian, which is our independent student-run newspaper, they're really filling a critical gap. So where our legacy media have really gone away, we used to have a regional daily, the Southern Illinoisan, that covered 16 counties. That was owned by a big corporation that did some serious damage over many years. And now that newspaper covers a couple of counties. The staff is a fraction of what it once was. So as legacy media outlets like that go away, our students have actually stepped in to fill that void. So the Daily Egyptian is more than a student newspaper. It is actually a community newspaper. And I'm biased, but it's really true. We're covering stories that sometimes are going completely uncovered. Alexander County, the farthest southern county in the state, we're not there every single day, but we're there, which no other journalists seem to be, except for, through a reporting partnership with Capital News Illinois, the Saluki Local Reporting Lab, which also lives at Southern Illinois University. They have invested some coverage in Alexander County, but just to give you an example of some of the things we're doing, there has been ICE activity in Southern Illinois. So our students are covering that in depth, talking to families of people who've been detained, for example. So we're really stepping in to fill that void. And we have incredible momentum right now. It's really exciting. Our students are just absolutely alive with the thrill of actually being professional journalists. Yes, they're in school, but they are the community newspaper. And I'm excited to say that we're distributed in 4 counties downstate. So, it's not just a campus paper. They're really filling that void. At the same time, we do have some of the same challenges that legacy media faces, right? We have lost advertising revenue. As an independent outlet, we rely on advertisers. And as that has kind of eroded over the years, we're facing similar struggles. So what we're trying to do as well is figure out how student media can be an important part of this, and how to kind of work with all of you to, not just train future journalists, but also serve these downstate communities that really, really need it. So thank you all.
Thank you, Alee. And lastly, Sierra. Hi, Sierra. Can you share with our audience what the Illinois Farm Bureau's view of community media is, and how do you support student journalists?
Well, thank you, Maudlyne, and also thank you, everyone in this room, for having this event and inviting us to stand up here and talk with you. I'm truly, truly honored to be following so many great speakers today. For the last 6 years, Illinois Farm Bureau has invested in high school journalism through a partnership with the Illinois Press Foundation. We sponsor a high school journalism grant program that helps students have access to podcasting equipment, funding for TV cameras. It helps support their print newspaper products and grow their interest in journalism. It's an incredible program that we're very honored to support through the Press Foundation. And earlier this afternoon, Governor Pritzker, he mentioned 2 high school journalists who grilled him through the Pretzel High School newspaper. And I was so excited to know that that was one of our grant recipients, and it was truly a full circle moment for us to realize that the work that we're doing in these high schools, these kids are taking it seriously. They're building those skills in journalism and hopefully sparking a lifelong interest in the industry and staying in Illinois to report on these issues. I also want to add that agriculture is Illinois' largest industry. Also through our partnership with the Press Foundation, we've been able to create a agriculture newswire. We've talked a lot about news deserts in Illinois and across the country today, and this newswire, we are able to share agriculture news to our local communities that might not otherwise be able to report or have the staff or time and effort to report on those issues. And we've seen some newspapers in those areas where they only have one newspaper serving the community, entire agriculture segments using the articles that we're sharing through this news service, and it's really incredible. We're seeing it grow. More newspapers are picking up the content each week, and we're just so happy and honored to be supporting journalism in this way. As I said, I'm a former journalist, and I was someone who was heavily involved in student media, both in high school and at the college level, and it's just really gratifying to work for a company that continues to support Illinois journalism in this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Sierra. So we heard that organizations are using students, are training students, high school and college students to reach communities. We heard organizations are training other outlets on how to fundraise. We heard some organizations are struggling to reach diverse communities amidst decreased funding of diversity. So many efforts to reach community, and all of them are struggling. So let's all continue to find ways to answer the question.